I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process that I use to prep 2 weeks worth of food in 1.5 hours. Also, since I've been posting my meal prep for so many years, I have gotten so many commonly asked questions about this meal prep. So after I show you the process, I'm going to walk you through and answer all those questions so you have a complete understanding as to my thought process behind this, and most importantly, how you can apply this to your specific situation and your goal. But first, let's walk through the process. For step number 1, we are filling up the rice cooker. I'm first determining how many cups of rice I am going to be using per meal for the next 2 weeks and how many meals I have to make. So by that, I determine how much rice I'm putting in dry here, and then I'm filling it up and setting the rice cooker. The cool thing about this, by using rice as my only carb, it all gets cooked up while I do other things in the meantime. This is just 45 minutes. Then I go ahead and set the oven. I put it at 400, okay? And both the trout and the chicken do well there. Now from there I go to work on the chicken, and here I just spray the pan down with some canola oil spray, and then I cut up the chicken. Once that's done, I season it with a few seasonings that I currently use from Costco. A big and important tip to make sure that you're not overcooking the chicken, well, is simply to not overcook it. It's difficult to do in the oven, just make sure you check it. But what I found for 400 degrees, and the way I'm cutting the chicken here, is 50 minutes. You're gonna see me put 60 minutes here, but I take it out at the 50-minute mark, okay? The extra 10 minutes is because afterwards I put the trout in, and it kind of takes care of both at one time. So total to cook both meats, it's gonna take 60 minutes, okay? And then plus the rice, which already started, you know, whatever it was 15 minutes ago, there you go. You've got just about an hour and 15 minutes to cook it all up. So here I am going to work on the trout. I have to deskin the trout in this case, and I do season it as well with some lemon pepper just for a little extra taste. And again, I'm just tossing this in right after the chicken on the same timer that I initially set for 60 minutes. So I'm taking the chicken out at 50 because again, I'm gonna make sure that it doesn't get too dry, as that's gonna make it hard to eat during the coming weeks. And now the rice will be done shortly after. So I go ahead and separate 1 cup in this particular case per meal. I separate that out. Once the meat is done, I'm using my scale to weigh out, in this particular case, 10 ounces for both the chicken and the trout. And that's it. From here, the only thing left to do is add some frozen veggies, which I like to do just to add more volume, more nutrients, of course, and make the meals a lot more filling. So I go ahead and add that to each one. I leave them frozen because they cook up as I cook each meal up in the microwave, and that is the system. All right, so I hope now you can understand just how simple it is to meal prep this much food that effectively, but I'm sure you've got a lot of questions. So let's go ahead and go through some of the most common ones. Here I have 12 questions, okay? And I'm almost certain that these are gonna cover any question you have in your mind by this point in the video. If there's a question you have that isn't answered in these 12, then be sure to drop a comment below and I'll just respond to you there. So the first, and of course the most obvious question is, do you eat the same food every day? Now, this isn't actually usually posed in the form of a question, but rather a statement or several different types of statements like, ew, I would never eat that type of food. Oh, you must hate your life. Oh my God, I would kill myself if I had to eat that every single day. Why don't you just enjoy your life? If being fit meant doing this, I wouldn't do it, and so on and so on and so on. Now, all these people are complete morons because they don't understand a lot of the things I'm about to explain. They take things at face value and they just use it as justification for why they don't want to do the prep and why they are not in shape. Well, I don't want to be in shape. Look at how much I have to hate my life, right? Well, that is actually not the case. So let's talk about what this is. Now, I am not eating just the food that I showed you in my prep, okay? Just the food that's sitting right here that I'm currently spitting all over. That's not what I'm eating every single day. These are meals that I have that make it easy for me to fill in the calories that I need throughout each day. This is typically how it goes. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'm having a different type of breakfast. It's usually the same breakfast, but it's subject to change from time to time, so it's very flexible. I'm gonna have a different snack throughout the day if I feel like it. For lunch and dinner, I have both of the meals that I've prepped. So one of the trout, and one of the chicken. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now Thursdays, typically I'll have my breakfast, the snack in the morning, and then I'll eat whatever else I want for the rest of the day. Maybe I'm going somewhere for that day, hanging out with somebody, going to my parents' house, whatever the case may be. I am eating whatever else that day for lunch and dinner. Okay, so I'm not having either of these meals that day. So that's one day. Friday, typically I'll have the 2 meals and it's a more structured average day. Now some Saturdays, again, it might be a completely structured typical day, but some Saturdays are completely different, right? Saturday night I might be going to a restaurant. Even Friday night that might be the case. Throughout the week it may change, in which case I will skip out on the meal that I've prepped and fit my macros in with whatever else I have the option to. And Sundays, finally, which is actually today, the day I'm recording this video, which I just finished prepping this, I'm having none of these meals. I am eating whatever I want and I just fit it into my macros. So if you see my meal prep picture, which I post because it's a cool picture to post and it gets tons of engagement because people are interested and because it's polarizing apparently, I am not eating this every single day. And I don't recommend anybody do that. And that's one thing I want to cover as well. A lot of meal prep videos you'll see where they say prep a week's worth of food, you know, in X amount of time or for X amount of money. The problem with that is that they're preparing their breakfast, their lunch, their dinner, and their snacks every single day for 7 days. Now, okay, that will save you time because you know and you can just grab everything you're going to eat right away. The problem is now you are literally eating the exact same thing every single day. This is a more flexible approach, and the key is I'm still saving a ton of time because whatever else I eat throughout the day for breakfast, for my snacks, are things that I can prepare in a couple of minutes. The thing that I'm spending the most time cooking throughout an average day is literally egg whites, which doesn't take much skill or prep or cooking or time at all anyways. Now, number 2 kind of goes off number 1. Doesn't it get bland or boring? Of course, the very first thing is you want to try and choose foods that you can tolerate or that you enjoy because you'll be able to eat those more regularly. Now, I don't understand the mindset of I like to eat something different every single day. I think that's a weak mindset, and I think it's for people that aren't in good shape. Most people that are in great shape have things very systemized and keep things simple. That makes it easier to be consistent. Consistency is key. So we want to make consistency easier. We're not going to be changing up our foods every single day, and that is the same case here. However, it can be boring sometimes. There's just no way around that point. If you want to accomplish things and you think that you're going to do it by just having fun all the time, when I say eat whatever foods you want, you can eat cake whenever and how much of it you want and all that stuff, then you're not understanding this correctly. You have to do the boring stuff to achieve the goal sometimes. So if you are somebody who needs constant variety in food, then you just have an absolutely demolished palate probably that has been saturated with way too many unnaturally sweetened things. So sometimes you got to eat the same old basic food, but like I said, at least a couple times a week I'm switching it up however I want and fitting in those foods, so that balance makes it a lot easier to tolerate. Now, number 3, these are more practical questions. Okay, so hopefully I got the 2 big ones out of the way. Number 3 is how does it stay fresh? This is going to depend on individuals and what you have your fridge setting at and how you like your food. Now, what I do is I freeze the second week's worth of food, and the first week I keep in the fridge the whole time, and it does last and it does taste just as fresh on day 7 as it does on day 1. In fact, I'm able to leave one of these meals in the fridge for up to 9 days, I found. Now, by day 10 things start smelling a little weird, so I don't go till 10 days, and typically I'll only keep it at 7 days max. So I have my fridge setting at 1 degree Celsius. So perhaps that's why some people tell me that they put it in their fridge and it goes bad in 2 days. If that's you, you can either change the setting on your fridge or you're just gonna have to change the process, which I'll get into shortly. Now, how you can actually set up a process like this for your goals, and it's essentially the way I've come to this process myself, you have to know your calories, you have to know your macronutrients. If you don't have the targets that you're trying to hit, you're not gonna hit it. It's that simple. So it doesn't really matter what you prep. Still, prepping something is better than nothing, whether you know your targets or not, sure, but you might as well, if you're putting in the effort to prep, make it as efficient and as effective as possible, in which case, know your calories, know your macros, and then from there, you just determine 1, 2, maybe even 3 meals per day that you're okay with having that will fit or help you hit those targets. That's all I'm doing here, and then I've distilled it down to the meals that need the most cooking, which would be cooking my chicken, cooking my trout, cooking the rice, and I say, great, how do I batch cook all this stuff so I save all the time from cooking for the entire month? That is my process, but it's going to be very ineffective if you don't know what your calories and what your macros are, because I have the same process whether I'm cutting, whether I'm on 2,000 calories or 4,000 calories bulking. I have the same process. The only thing that's changing is the quantities of food and sometimes the food itself. And that's how you change the process is, number one, choose foods that you prefer. Do you have to eat these foods? That is one of the questions I have. No, of course not. I don't recommend that you eat the same foods that I eat simply because I eat them, though it may be a good idea for a lot of you out there. It's not necessary. And also, what are the ones that fit your macros the best? What are the ones that fit your preferences the best? Your availability, all that stuff. I get all this at Costco. Maybe if you shop elsewhere, there's going to be different options, different sales, different deals. Maybe if you want to switch it up every 2 weeks, that's fine. You can do that. Just find the food sources that allow you to hit the targets best. You're probably not going to nail this process down the first time you do it. I've been doing this 10, 12 years, so it's no wonder I've been able to make it this efficient. You just have to know the calories and macros, like I said in the previous one, and adjust it to that. And then from there, I mentioned before, maybe you want to not keep things in the fridge as long, maybe you don't want like freezing things, in which case, just determine how many days you're going to prep. Now, at one point in my life when I first started meal prep, and there weren't my videos to teach me how to do this, if there were, this would have saved me years of trial and error. But because there weren't, I was prepping every single day. And then I went to prepping every second day. So I would prep for 2 days, then 3 days, then 4 days, then 1 week. I was prepping for about 1 week ahead of time for multiple years. So I would actually prep 4 times a month for multiple years, and I was stuck on that process until a client of mine actually unveiled the secret of prepping for a week in advance, freezing the food, and so on. So shout out to that client, but also that it's just a development along the way. You can change the process however you'd like. You don't have to prep all 2 weeks worth of food in 1.5 hours to see amazing results. But this is the most time efficient way I know how so far, aside from doing it a month ahead, which I've done in the past, but you're gonna have a lot less leniency on changing things if you need to. Okay, next question is, do you have to weigh things so meticulously? And maybe you saw it from some of the footage, if you can tell on the screen there, but no, you don't have to literally measure it to the gram. Unless you're somebody on prep that's trying to get, that's currently 6% body fat trying to get to 5%, then yes, you need to measure every single gram. If you're just trying to lose 10 pounds and you're not getting to any crazy body fat levels, have more leniency with that, okay? And you can tell I'm quite lenient with mine because a couple ounces here, a couple grams there, it's not gonna be the end of the world. Okay, question number 7 is, how much does this cost? This particular prep right here, which is 1 cup of rice per meal, this is 19 meals, 10 ounces of trout for 9 of those meals, and 10 ounces of chicken for 10 of them. This costed me $140 Canadian, which means in US dollars, that's gonna be just over $100 US, which means for an entire month, that would be $200 US to prep it in this particular fashion, which if you eat as much food as I do, which is probably above the norm, I'm eating around 3,200 calories right now, that's gonna be a good amount. So if you are under that, if you're not 6'2.5" and weigh 210 pounds, then you can get away with a lot less. Why do I choose these foods? Just to reiterate, these are the foods that I'm currently on. I was actually just eating ground beef, switched it up. Why? Because I felt like it. I just made sure that the macros and the targets add up, line up, and then I make the swap. There were times where I was doing quinoa, I was doing potatoes, sweet potato, all these different carbs. Right now I'm just on rice because it keeps things as simple as possible, and it's just one carb source I can cook all up at once. Next question, does it lose nutritional value when it's sitting for that long period of time? I can't say conclusively whether it is or not. If it is, it's not going to be significant enough for you to worry about. Number 10, glass or plastic. I've recently made the switch to all glass, but for several years I was doing plastic. In my personal opinion, those are not the things that you need to be worrying about if you don't even prep in the first place, or or you struggle to stay consistent with prep, or you're not in the best shape, if I'm eating all plastic and it's supposedly cancerous and bad for you, but I'm in 10 times better shape than you, then our priorities are probably not aligned here. With that being said, since I have everything optimized, now these little changes, like going from plastic to glass, might actually make an incremental difference that I'm willing to consider and implement. Okay, the next thing is frozen veggies. Just to keep in mind, you can use fresh veggies if you'd like. I personally like frozen because that's just the best deal at Costco I can get, and I put it in, and I don't cook the veggies because they're already cooked and then frozen. So I actually take these, I warm them up in the microwave for 5 to 6 minutes. Okay, so when taking a frozen meal out, you can thaw it out first, like the day before and all that. That seems like a bit of a hassle, and I would agree that it is. So I just forget to do that. Instead, I literally take it straight from the freezer and put it straight into the microwave when I'm on week 2. Lastly, who is this for? So this is for anybody that wants to save time, that wants to save any stress, that wants to save money, and that wants to make it easier to reach your goals. If you are in the pursuit of reaching your goals, becoming the better version of yourself, getting in better shape, getting leaner, getting stronger, building more muscle, and just leveling up your entire life, then meal prep, aside from people that can spend the money to have somebody prep all this, or spend the money to get these meals shipped to you, that's what I'm gonna be doing. You better believe when that day comes, that is what I'm gonna be doing. Assuming you're not that, which is going to be the vast majority of people, this is the next best possible option for you. If you're of any interest in bettering your life, your health, your nutrition, and more importantly, doing it in a way that's flexible, sustainable, and enjoyable. Believe it or not, this is that way. At least that's what I've found. So any questions that I haven't answered, again, drop them in the comments below and I will respond to them for you there. And I could even make another video on them if needed. Thanks for watching as always. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you at the top. I'm out.